Hey guys, it's Dog Vinyl again tonight, and band in focus for tonight is going to be Supertramp. I'm going to talk a little bit about the background of the band. I'm going to talk about members. One of the bigger bands in the 70s. A little research, got a little Take the Long Way Home on here from their biggest hit album, which we'll talk a little bit about. Sounding real good. That signature piano. I'm sure everyone knows this album. And the magical harmonica. Again, just a great album. So, like I said, we're going to do Supertramp tonight, and I want to get into some of the elements of Supertramp. The band was formed in London in 1970 by the two predominant members of Roger Hodgson on guitar, bass, and keyboards, and vocals, mostly lead vocals, and Rick Davies on keyboards, predominantly the compositional keyboards, and background vocals. The original band in 1970 was formed with a different mix of members. One of the prominent ones was Richard James Palmer, who was in the band in 1970. He joined the band as basically a guitarist slash lyricist, and I have some notes on him. I've known him before because I've seen him on a lot of other prog albums. He later becomes a lyricist for King Crimson and does some work with Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and does various other studio work throughout the period, but he's generally associated with progressive rock bands. As I'm looking through here, they formed in London in 1970, the Supertramp, and they had a couple different names, but they finally settled on Supertramp from a famous novel. There were various members in the first two albums, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, that were different, that changed over time, and they didn't really settle into a congealed band until their third album, Crime of the Century, which of course was a big hit. The Supertramp is a very interesting band. They really have... they're really one of the only bands that can blend those great pop hooks and the intricate and layered melodic verses and work with the textured keyboards and that just expressive and thoughtful lyrics that they wrote. Very, very unique band. Are they a progressive band? Are they a pop band? A little bit of both. They're one of the bands, kind of like Pink Floyd, which can be... They're rock and roll, but they are technically a progressive rock band. They use a lot of outside elements in their music. But Supertramp, like Pink Floyd, when I do them in the future, they are a very, very intricate band. Melodic and amazingly recorded. Some of the best recordings in rock and roll in the 1970s. Top-notch material that these guys did. Sound quality, the musicmanship, the layered textures of music, the wall of sound that you got with Supertramp, and the lyrics were always very, very thoughtful and well written, on a level of poetic verses. But let's further on as we get to the band here. So Supertramp breaks in 1970 with a very unimpressive album, just called Supertramp. I have it right here. Kind of rare, not the easiest album to get. On AM in America, AM label in America, if you can see that, kind of hard with the ring light. So yeah, this is their first band and their first album. As you can see, the original members of Supertramp. Right here we have the four major members: Rick Davies, Roger Hodgson, Richard Palmer, and Robert Millar was the original percussionist and did some background harmonica work. He's the original. Now, this album is very different. This album is textured, layered colors, no pop hooks in it, no real big songs, more of kind of getting their feel, some blues background, which Rick Davies brings to the band, with his Wurlitzer piano sound, which has signature sound throughout the Supertramp career. But this has songs like Shirley, which was pretty good, It's a Long Road, Abroad, I'm Not Like Other Birds of Prey, which was pretty cool. Words Unspoken, Maybe I'm a Beggar, and Home Again. Side 2 is Nothing to Show, Shadow Song, Try Again, and Shirley. Shirley was really good, one of the first big lyrical songs. Again, all the lyrics in the first album were written by Richard Palmer James. He leaves the band after the first album because of technical difficulties of producing the music, and also he had different artistic expressions. He wanted to move in different directions. I think he wanted to go a little bit more progressive, where Roger Hodgson has more of a pop psych to him. So that album comes out in 1970. Their next album comes out called Indelibly Stamped, which of course is very, this one comes out, I believe, in 1971, if I'm going to be correct on this one. Sometimes they give us a date and sometimes they don't. So we're going to have to get into the actual album, open up the gatefold and get into this, and this was 1971. Yeah, I was correct. Okay, this was a different lineup, again, based on Roger Hodgson and Rick Davies, of course, but a bit of a different lineup here. We have Dave Winthrop on flutes and saxophone and some vocals, a new drummer's in the band, I believe his name is Kevin Carey. He's only in it for this one album. And this album is pretty good. It has some pretty good songs on it. Very interesting sounds they're getting out of this. Traveled is good. Your Papas Don't Mind. Remember, Rosie Had Everything Planned, Forever, and side 2, Coming Home to See You, Times Have Changed, Aries, and Friend in Need. All of these started to really congeal together. This is the album that really congeals together, that they start to get their lyrical touchstones to the audience where they get the pop hooks. And this is very important because this is their second album, and they had been under label, and their first 2 albums did not sell that well. And this album, of course, this album cover was controversial with the nudity on it, and it's 1971, and blah, blah, blah. It's a great album. This is a famous model with lots of tattoos, which in 1971, a lot of women didn't have tattoos this amount. So she was a famous tattoo model. You can see in the back there, too, which is really kind of cool. That's her back. So this album, not doing as well as the others, they decided to go into their third album, which of course is a big hit, and this congeals the band that we know, Supertramp, throughout the rest of their career. This is, of course, Crime of the Century. This album really took off. This album had a lot of melodic hooks in it, had some great hits, and the fact that it had this kind of progressive sound throughout the whole album, a connection. School on side 1, Bloody Well, right, you're bloody well, right, Hide in Your Shell, and Asylum. They all meld together and they have this beautiful textured sound. Awesome keyboards, that Wurlitz's signature piano sound that Rick Davies brings to the band, and Roger Hodgson's very shrill, some people would consider shrill voice, but I like it. Supertramp's funny because sometimes people don't like Hodgson's voice. I find it just really good. It's a very melodic, but very high. Similar to Geddy Lee and Rush, I guess. Side 2 is Dreamer, Rudy, If Everyone Was Listening, and Crime of the Century. Now, this album has the setup of the major elements of the band. Bob C. Benberg on drums and percussions. He becomes the permanent drummer in the band. And then Jonathan Hellowell becomes the saxophone, clarinet, woodwinds, and backup vocals. And the Dougie Thompson becomes the bass player. So that's the lineup, with Rick Davies and Roger Hodgson, of course, being the major members. And this of course, is really the lineup here. And this is the lineup that will produce the next series of albums up until Roger Hodgson leaving the band. Now, I'm not going to be doing a complete discography, but I'm going to cover a majority of their albums up till when Roger Hodgson leaves the band, and then I'll do 1 or 2 albums after that, and then discuss a little bit about Supertramp. Now, with Crime of the Century. Oh, by the way, Crime of the Century comes out in 1974. So, just wanted to give you a date on that. And let's see if I was correct on that. And they don't want to give us a date, but it says 1974. So, yeah, I was 74. I was right. Oh, well. So, 1974 is Crime of the Century. Just an amazing album. Great stuff. It really put them on the map. Now, of course, with the music industry of the time period, with the hit album, they want to push another hit album. Of course, the music industry just wants more money. I mean, it's all about profit. So they figure, okay, you got one hit album, let's get another one out. So they're really about pushing hits. They're seeing that Roger Hodgson has a kind of a touchstone with writing hit pop songs. They figured, okay, write another hit, hire another. And the next album that comes out is Crisis, What Crisis? Okay, and this album comes out in 1975, I believe, if I'm correct on this one. Yes, this one comes out in 1975, and this one doesn't do as well. It follows up Crime of the Century. This has Easy Does It, Sister Moonshine, Ain't Nobody But Me, A Soap Opera Box, Another Man's Woman. Side 2 is Lady, Poor Boy, Just a Normal Day, The Meaning, and Two of Us. Again, this is the band. Cool stuff. Great album. I like this album a lot. I think it has a lot of really good melodic tunes to it. Lots of great textured sounds. Some great keyboard playing by Rick Davies. Some good bass playing by Roger Hodgson. And some guitar work. But it doesn't have the magic that Crime of the Century had. So, again, A&M label. Very popular. Great album. Really one of them. But it didn't produce the hits, and the music industry is a little sad. So they took a hiatus off a little bit, and it was 2 years before the next album comes out in 1977, and of course that's Even in the Quietest Moments. Now this album does produce a big hit, and of course everyone knows it, Give a Little Bit, with the guitar intro and everything by Hodgson. This album is really good, and this album comes out in 1977. This has a bunch of songs on it. It starts out with Give a Little Bit on side 1, which was the big hit. Loverboy, Even in the Quietest Moments, another good hit. And Do Your Own. And then side 2 is Babari, Now, From Now On, Fool's Overture. Again, Fool's Overture is really good. It has a lot of awesome, it's on the cover, it has a lot of really intricate piano keyboard stuff, and you can see on Fool's Overture on this album, funny, I'll show this, it takes up a large portion of the album, as you can see. So it's definitely of the prog rock roots of the band and going in that direction, producing just really a great hit. But Give a Little Bit was really what bolstered the hit on this one. And this was when they took off. Again, they went on tour. The band was the same that I just mentioned from the Crime of the Century band, which would include Bob Seberg on drums and Dougie Thompson on bass, John Helwell on saxophone, clarinet, keyboards, various backing vocals from all the woodwinds. And that leads us to the next big album. Now, this was their biggest album by far. It's Breakfast in America. It's released in 1979. And this was just filled with a ton of hits. Playing it right now. So, Breakfast in America really put them on the map as one of the big radio star bands. They had Gone Hollywood, the Logical song, which was a big hit for them. Goodbye Stranger, another big hit. Breakfast in America, and Oh Darling. On side 2, Take the Long Way Home, which very good song, which I was playing. Lord Is It Mine, Just Another Nervous Wreck. Casual Conversations, and one of my favorite songs, Child of Vision. Very cool long keyboard intro. Just amazing piano, textured layers, great vocals, very syncopated tune. A well-produced, well-recorded album. Just amazing. You can get it on MoFi. This is just a really great. If it comes out on MoFi, I highly suggest you pick it up. Especially if John can get it over at Max J. But great album. Okay. This is where the band starts to go in different directions. And the band, when I say the band, I'm talking about Roger Hodgson and Rick Davies. They start to... Hodgson wants to go more of a pop direction. Rick Davies wants to do these longer, more drawn-out progressive albums based on more keyboard intros and what have you. And they kind of have a difference of opinions. They generally wrote most of the songs together, but now in this particular album, their last album together is Famous Last Words. And this came out a little bit later. This came out in 1982, I believe, if I'm correct on this one. And yes, I am almost 99% sure. Yeah, 1982. I was right. And this produced one big hit. It's Raining Again. That was the big hit on this one. It had a lot of keyboard stuff, and a couple of songs that dropped on this were on the later album, Brother Are You Bound, because they wanted to put this originally on this, but they didn't. This one has side 1, Crazy, Put On Your Old Brown Shoes, It's Raining Again, Bonnie, Know Who You Are. Side 2 is My Kind of Lady, C'est Le Bon, Waiting So Long, and Don't Leave Me Now. Great album. Like it a lot. But it is the last album with Hodgson on it, which is kind of sad with that signature voice, even though Davies does do the lead singing in the next album, Brother Are You Bound, which I have here. It's the only album I really kind of like because it's kind of a bleed off from the Hodgson days, because the song Brother Are You Bound was originally supposed to be on this album, but they pushed it back because of the length and what they wanted to do with it. So, again, Famous Last Words, last album with Roger Hodgson. He leaves it and has a solo career. As a matter of fact, I think I have a Hodgson album in here. Let me see where I can find H. It's right over here. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Hodgson. I should have pulled it before I started the show. H-I-J-K. But I forgot all about it. Billy Joel. H. Right over here. This is the problem with being... Oh, actually, it was probably right up here. Yeah, I think it's right. Sorry about that. Freddie Hubbard. This is what happens when you get so much vinyl. Here it is. This is one of Hodgson's first solo albums. After he leaves the band, he produces this album. This is In the Eye of the Storm. Decent album. I like it. It has a very much of a Supertramp sound to it. A little bit more poppy. But this is Hodgson's album right here. So as you can see, very good stuff, very cool stuff. Really like Roger Hodgson. I love his voice. To me, they're not the same band. Now, Brother Are You Bound comes out in 1985, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 85. Yep, as I was correct. My dates are usually pretty good. I do teach history, though. So, this is a great album. It has some good songs to it. It has Cannonball, which was one of my favorites on this. Still in Love, In Between, Better Days. And side 2 is Brother Are You Bound, and Even Open Doors. Now, Brother You're Bound is that open progressive I told you about. Very cool piece. Just really cool stuff, see. A great album. Don't get me wrong. I like it, but it's just missing that kind of Roger Hodgson touch, if you know what I mean. And then it kind of, you know, to me, they weren't the same band, and you know, it wasn't like they broke up on bad terms or anything. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like, you know, they went in different directions. So that's the first album. The next album that comes out, I believe, is in 1987. I don't have it, but I believe it's called Free as a Bird. I'm going to write it right here. I believe I wrote it down here. Yep. Free as a Bird comes out in 1987. Again, not too bad. It yields 1 or 2 small minor hits. Then they take a band 10 years off, and they come out with Some Things Never Change in 1997. And then their last album in 2002 is Slow Motion, which was never available on vinyl. The last 2 albums were not available on vinyl. One was available through their private label online only. So Free as a Bird is really the last one on vinyl if I was going to make the collection complete. Not that I really care about that much. But that is Supertramp for you. I just wanted to let you go over that again. I mean, so we have Brother Are You Bound, which is, you know, 1985, 1982. We have Famous Last Words, last Hodgson album. Of course, the big album, 79. We have Breakfast in America, 1977. Even in the Quietest Moments, 1975. Crisis, What Crisis? 1974, the big hit. Crime of the Century. Indelibly Stamped in 1973. 1971, I'm sorry. And in 1970, Supertramp. So, yeah. Great career. And a band that I really like to just end up with is that they do a lot of good material, and a lot of their songs people love. Some even, sadly, they don't know who they are. And again, they're one of the better bands of this period that combine progressive and pop to a level that's very, very high. The quality of the musicmanship is very high, very similar to Steely Dan, who I did a couple weeks ago. So the band in focus today was Supertramp. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope to like to see you guys do some subscribing. Please subscribe to my channel. We can talk about this stuff so we can create a nice dialogue, talk about different bands, and obviously give me a like. The other thing that I'd like to talk about too, before I let you guys take off, is the fact that I'm going to be doing stuff. I talked about a couple of different thematic stories, and I've kind of developed them out. One of them I'm going to do is called Drummers in Focus. Each month I'm going to do one drummer from different bands, because I play drums myself and I like drums. And I'm going to talk about how they influenced and the bands they've been in. And I'm going to try to do drummers that have been in a multitude of bands. It gives them a little bit more interest, rather than just one drummer in one band. I mean, that's kind of monolithic. So I'm going to do that. And then I'll probably do guitarists. And then I'm going to do some top count-offs, like top 10, new wave, prog, kind of stuff like that, and funk, and different stuff. So besides the bands in focus, which I'll be doing regularly, I'm going to do those other thematic shows. And I'd like to hear if you guys have any ideas for a show. I would love to incorporate it into the Doc Vinyl show. So let me know. Again, hope you can subscribe. Want to see your likes. And I will see you next time. Stay safe. Doc Vinyl out.